From CBS News Bay Area, this is the afternoon edition.
What you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you?
Right now on the afternoon edition, some stunning moments at the White House, an Oval Office meeting quickly turning into a shouting match as the U.S. president and vice president angrily lectured Ukraine's president over the Russian invasion of his country. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Ann Makovic, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy meeting with President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance inside the White House just a few hours ago, and things got ugly.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment,
if
you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
Well, after that meeting, President Zelenskyy left the White House early. He did not sign a deal that would have given the U.S. access to Ukrainian resources in exchange for investment and the possibility of concrete security guarantees. That was the original plan for that meeting. Taking a live look at the White House, reporter Natalie Brand is there with all the developments.
Beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
Tensions ran high in the Oval Office as President Trump pressured Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to make a deal to end the war between Russia and Ukraine.
You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
Zelenskyy, who is pushing the U.S. for security guarantees to protect Ukraine's sovereignty, called Russian President Vladimir Putin a terrorist and told Trump that Ukraine would not compromise with a killer.
He's a killer and terrorist, but I hope that together we can stop him.
The two leaders had been expected to sign an agreement giving the U.S. access to the country's rare earth minerals, something Trump wants as payback for billions spent in military aid.
We look forward to getting in and digging.
Ukraine has everything from graphite and uranium for nuclear fuel to coal and rare earths.
Grace Baskarin of the Center for Strategic and International Studies says the U.S. has been looking for ways to boost its supply of valuable minerals used in everything from electronics to military equipment. China dominates the market.
Meanwhile, a grassroots group is calling for a national economic blackout today to protest the influence of billionaires and corporate greed. They want Americans to not spend any money today at retail giants like Amazon or Walmart for 24 hours. That boycott, led by the People's Union USA, aims to send a strong message to business and political leaders about rising prices and the state of the U.S. economy. While some economists doubt a one-day boycott will drive major changes, activists hope it will inspire further movements. There are other protests planned against companies that are scaling back diversity programs. And that comes as schools and colleges nationwide are facing a deadline to end their DEI policies and programs. The Trump administration has threatened to pull federal money if that's not met. Many schools have not made changes. Here in California, officials say the deadline does not change federal law and does not require any action. Just last night, the Trump administration launched a federal tip portal for reporting perceived acts of discrimination in public schools. A federal judge in San Francisco says the Trump administration's mass firing of federal workers are probably illegal. His ruling yesterday says the Office of Personnel Management does not have the authority to hire or fire any employees but its own. Judge William Alsup says the office must now tell certain agencies that it has no authority to order the firings of probationary employees, including at the Defense Department. But the judge did not specify what this means for the workers who have already lost their jobs. A coalition of labor unions and nonprofit organizations has sued to push back against the administration's efforts to shrink the federal workforce. Also developing, a major medical setback for Pope Francis. The Vatican says the Pope was placed on a breathing machine after he had a sudden episode of respiratory difficulty. The Pope has been battling pneumonia, double pneumonia, for 2 weeks. And before today, reports from his doctors had sounded a little more upbeat the last couple of days. The Vatican said the Pope is alert at times, but noted that he is not out of danger. For some more positive news closer to home, let's take a live look outside this Friday. We have another warm spring-like day before some big changes. Let's get over to meteorologist Jessica Birch.
You know, meteorological spring technically starts tomorrow. Actual spring with the equinox happens closer to the 20th. However, it has felt like spring the past couple days here in the Bay Area, and today is the last day that we're going to see that. As we take a quick look at our daytime highs, we're gearing up for another day of 70s in our inland areas with 60s along the coast, 72 today in Redwood City, upper 60s just near San Francisco. We turn the page into the next couple days. We start to cool down fast as we head into this weekend's forecast, back to the upper 50s and lower 60s. And as we take a look at the rainfall outlook issued by the Climate Prediction Center, it's showing wetter than normal conditions as we gear up for the next 6 to 10 days. And just looking at the next 7 days alone issued, well, this is our models right here. We're talking about rainy conditions heading into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week, tapering off as we head into our midweek forecast. It starts tomorrow evening. Light on and off showers in the forecast for us are expected into the overnight hours tomorrow night, early morning hours Sunday morning. At the same time, the Sierra will get plenty of snow too while we deal with these on and off showers in the forecast. I'll have more on that coming up in just a bit. For now, back to you.
Thanks, Jess. In the last hour, police in Oakland announcing the results of a major criminal investigation that led to 7 arrests. Search warrants were executed across the Bay Area, resulting in several firearms being seized, along with cash and ammunition. Investigators say it was all related to a series of violent crimes.
7 individuals, 3 of whom were juveniles, were arrested in connection to several violent crimes to include murder, shootings, street armed robberies, burglaries, and escape from a juvenile facility.
The investigation into the group is ongoing, and police have turned that case over to the Alameda County District Attorney's Office for charges. Across the Bay, police in San Francisco stepping up efforts to get rid of drug markets that have been moving from block to block. Yesterday, the police department released this video. It shows officers swarming a city park, breaking up an illegal drug market earlier this week. This is Jefferson Square Park, known to some more recently in the area as Zombie Park because of its reputation as a haven for drugs and illegal vending. The large-scale operation involved several city departments and ended with almost 90 people in handcuffs. A show of force is being called a first step to end what officials are calling a whack-a-mole battle against illegal drug markets across the city.
When people displace from an area that we go in and try to clean up and they go to another community, this is what you're going to see. Stop this whack-a-mole thing that we're seeing when drug dealers and users go from one community to the next when they get pressure. This pressure will not stop. This pressure will not stop.
The dozens of cases now in the hands of District Attorney Brooke Jenkins. She says at least 30 people already had outstanding warrants for offenses in other counties like Solano.
To see over 30 individuals who had outstanding warrants tells us that there is an issue as far as people coming back out of the system who are not being addressed. And most of these people had out-of-county warrants, so we need to make sure that they are going back to those counties to address those issues.
Well, these arrests happening as San Francisco city supervisors recently removed a police commissioner. The vote to remove Max Carter Oberstone came at the mayor's request. In Daniel Lurie's words, he wanted someone else who would work collaboratively to make our city safer. Separately, today, the mayor is preparing to swear in a new member of the commission, Wilson Leong. Still ahead here at noon and streaming on CBS News Bay Area, Purple Cup Power. We have an update on an unprecedented experiment in the North Bay community of Petaluma aimed at reducing waste. Now to an update in our Project Earth. Last year, Petaluma tried an unprecedented experiment involving purple reusable to-go cups. The goal was to see if people would cut down on those single-use cups most of us use once before tossing them out. I got my hands on the final report. Last fall, Petaluma was ground zero for an innovative experiment. For 12 weeks, more than 30 downtown restaurants swapped their single-use cups for a purple reusable one, emblazoned with a catchy tagline.
It says, sip, return, and repeat.
I think this was a very exciting thing to be a part of, to be the only city in the country to do this?
I really liked it, actually. There was a million places where you could put the cup back.
I always got the purple cup. I thought it was like really convenient.
I don't know overall how it went in the city, but it seemed like people were aware of the program.
Now hot off the presses, a new report backs that up.
It was surprising and encouraging to see how quickly consumers embraced the change.
Researchers found more than 80% of Petaluma residents were very aware of the project, knew how to return the cups for wash and reuse, and wanted the service to continue.
Haven't seen that level of community engagement, awareness, understanding, satisfaction, pride. Petaluma was very proud of the project.
Carolina Lobel is with the Center for the Circular Economy at Closed Loop Partners, the group behind the project. She said 81% of users returned at least one of their cups, and more than 51% of those cups, about 250,000, were kept out of landfills.
We were overwhelmed by the results.
The group will soon roll out longer-term projects in other cities. As for Petaluma,
What does it look like after this?
Ashley Harris is manager for the locally owned and operated Petaluma Coffee and Tea Company.
Now it's what do we do with it as a community?
Lobel has promising news.
In Petaluma specifically, we are working with our private and public partners on a continuation plan. So stay tuned.
Brewing up a sustainable new solution.
All right, let's change gears real fast and talk about this weekend's forecast. I know it's hard to believe when you see blue skies today and the temperatures are warming right back up into the 70s. That's pretty much all throughout our inland areas, anywhere from Santa Rosa off into Antioch, Concord, down into the Santa Clara Valley, with upper 60s in the forecast for us this afternoon along our coast and up into San Francisco. That changes fast as a cold front approaches us heading into our Saturday and Sunday forecast, though. Tomorrow, and I'll show you these temperatures in just a bit, we're expected to jump down into the 50s and 60s widespread throughout the Bay Area, as we're also gearing up for rainy skies and some gusty conditions as early as Saturday evening. This is just around 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Notice how into the overnight hours we get more showers sweeping in from offshore. Waking up Sunday morning, we could deal with some light speckles of showers, kind of intermittent throughout the morning and afternoon forecast. That'll clear up a little bit as we head into our Monday setup, but we still have more showers in the forecast for us as we head into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. The Climate Prediction Center is showing wetter than normal conditions. Let's head over this way. As we head into this weekend's forecast and early next week, our daytime highs drop quick with that cold front. We see conditions drop significantly when it comes to those temperatures, of course, but then we're also dealing with rain and gusty conditions too. That'll be the case as we head into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, with unsettled weather in the forecast for us day by day, not only in the Bay, but for our friends along our inland spots too. We take a look at our daytime highs in our inland areas, just like the Bay, closer to San Francisco and Oakland. Places like the East Bay and the North Bay could jump from the 70s all the way to the 50s just within 3 days alone. Now, of course, yesterday and today when we were sitting in the 70s and 80s, that was about 10 to 15 degrees above average. So we're getting back to where we should be as we head into this weekend with that wet setup for us as we last into early next week. I'll have more on that in a bit. For now, back to you.
Thanks, Jess. Our celebration of black trailblazers in the Bay continues. Coming up next, the man who helped change the look of Silicon Valley. All month, CBS News Bay Area has been celebrating Black History Month, highlighting your community. We've met inventors, artists, and sports trailblazers. Now to a story that reboots a prominent Black voice in tech. We recently told you about a children's book based on the life of Roy Clay. He was a trailblazer for the Black community in the tech industry. He's even considered the godfather of Silicon Valley. And at a time when diversity efforts are under attack, Veronica Macias spoke with his son about why these efforts are important to get the best and brightest together.
Looking around the Silicon Valley, you can say much hasn't changed in terms of diversity since the 1960s, when a young black man with a genius mind from Missouri entered the tech industry. Roy Clay was a pioneer in the Silicon Valley who inarguably pushed the door open for others behind him after the founder of Hewlett-Packard himself, David Packard, hired Clay when other companies had turned the young man away just because he was black. Clay's son, Chris, says his father always admired his boss for it.
That he just wanted the best possible workforce, the best possible team to build the best possible company. And it didn't matter what color, what ethnicity, what country those people were from that built the workforce. He just wanted the best and the brightest. So one of the things that he did was he recruited from traditionally recruited from territories like, historically black universities.
Chris says his father believed in having the largest pool of applicants possible, using his position at HP to fight inequality in the industry.
And you got to expand the talent pool. So when people talk about, when a certain person talks about eliminating DEI, that's the stupidest thing in the world, because what you're doing is you're cutting off a big chunk of that potential talent pool. And what DEI done right just ensures that you have the absolute best possible workforce.
Kevin Epps, an independent filmmaker, documented Roy Clay along with John Templeton for decades as they shared stories of African Americans who paved the way in the tech industry. Epps says from the very start, he was fascinated by the man who helped create the very first HP computer and wrote the software for the HP 2116.
His contributions in terms of being a pioneer in the world of technology in a time where we didn't see a lot of brothers of color, or people that look like us.
A 2021 report from the Computing Technology Industry Association shows the industry still lacks diversity. Only 3,000 African American tech workers are in the Silicon Valley, in contrast to 45,000 white and some 100,000 Asian American. Templeton, a historian who has focused on technology leaders, says there has been improvement these past few years.
Those who have come later are trying to say that we don't have that technical competence when we started the industry.
As Black History Month comes to an end this year, we're reminded how a technical genius credited for putting the Silicon Valley on the map made every effort to diversify his industry.
Well, you can be successful, you can have goals, you can have aspirations, but at the same time, don't forget about the people that are going to come behind you. So one of his big things was he wanted to be an inspiration to his peers and people generations behind, coming up generations behind him. But then he also wanted to open doors for other people. So when he walked through doors, he made sure he, quote unquote, left those doors open to create opportunities for people that came behind him, specifically people that came behind him in the world of technology.
Now, Clay apparently often quoted Ralph Waldo Emerson in his memoir, saying, "I went where there was no path and I left a new trail." He died in the fall of 2024. We'll be right back. Well, superheroes are lifting the spirits of patients at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital in Palo Alto. They're equipped with squeegees, soaps, and buckets, window washers, dressed up as some favorite superheroes rappelled down the building today, bringing joy and smiles while cleaning the windows. Really brought a lot of happiness throughout the hospital this morning. They have been coming to visit patients at the Children's Hospital for more than 10 years. Well, that is it for the afternoon edition. Remember, we are streaming 24/7 on the free CBS News app. Our next live newscast coming up at 5 o'clock. Have a great Friday.